right?
Yep.
And we're on the round of 8. I forget exactly when it was, and I forget exactly who you were playing, but you played a ZvP on Shakora's Plateau.
Yep.
And you did this really cool Hydra drop.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna ask about that. Yep.
Just before you go jump in with your questions, with your answers, my first question is, was that in anticipation of Stargate Play? And then my next question would be, could you just tell us a little bit about it?
All right. Well, first off, yes, it was anticipation of Stargate Play. I've noticed that with any sort of forge opening like he did, you don't need Zergling speed earlier on. But no Protosses are really scouting for that, especially off like this forge expand opening. So when I noticed, A, he went forge expand, B, he wasn't really scouting properly, I knew I was in the go to just go ahead, skip my Zergling speed altogether, go lair first, and then just go for an insanely fast Hydralisk drop. And the reasoning why I did that is A, Stargate Play, I need something that has some sort of ground to air. B, the disadvantage of Hydralisk is mobility. So I figure, all right, I'm going to go ahead, take that DPS, remove the disability or immobility issue just with an extremely early drop. At the same time, I'd be moving out of having to deal with his cannons that are going to be at the front of his ramp. Mm-hmm. And really focus all my army and all my DPS into his main, and then just kind of drop it there and force him to deal with it. And that's actually a build I've been using a lot, especially on that map in particular. If you saw my games against TT1 this weekend, or last weekend rather, I did the same exact thing against TT1 on Shakira's Plateau. He went Forge Expand into Void Ray, which is extremely common, and it works like a charm every time. I don't think I've ever lost with it against Forge Expand into Void Ray or any sort of Stargate play. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely a great build that I've kind of added in there.
Maybe see, in one of these weeks coming up, we're going to talk about ways that Zerg can all in. That build's definitely an all in, wouldn't you say?
No, actually.
No.
No. It's not really too all in. I can transition from there, especially against the Forge Expand. If you notice, I take my third at the exact same time. In the game that you saw, wait, actually no, I did kill him with it. But against TT1, it really just did some damage. I was able to pick off a few early Void Rays, and then I went ahead, expanded, much like last game actually, and then just transitioned straight into Roach Corruptor. So it's more like just a timing attack, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's not really too all in. It's not like I'm cutting a bunch of drones to do it.
Gotcha.
I'm just changing my composition.
Well, one of these days we're going to have to talk a little bit more in depth about that build because it is so cool, and I guess we'll give it a couple more months. We'll save it for the end because it's probably one of those super secrets you want to hang on to for a little while.
All right.
All right, so here's a question that I'm sure that you're excited to talk about. I'd like to ask Machine, does he think that Kiwikaki's Mothership plus Blink Stalker build is viable, and has anyone else used it on him after or before that game?
I honestly think it was a great build. It's something that's been kind of bothering me. I wasn't really sure how I should have adjusted. I guess, I don't know. Obviously, I was thrown for a loop. Anytime I see Mothership, I'm not really sure exactly what to expect. The first thing my initial reaction is, all right, I need Neural Parasite ASAPly, so I can go ahead and try and mind control that Mothership and deal with it that way. But no, I haven't dealt with anything like that before or since then. But I think it definitely has potential. And I'm not actually sure what I should have done to adjust to it.
Yeah, you sound like you're as in the dark on that one as all of us were when we were watching it. That build blew me away. I was ready to just go raged on the Battle.net forums when I saw that crap.
Yeah. I mean, even on creep, I didn't have the mobility to keep up with the stalkers. They were able to pick off my bases just before my army really was able to get there. And then, once again, due to my heavy Hydralisk concentration, I couldn't really counter effectively. So,
We'll
Yeah,
see
no,
what happens in coming weeks. I'm sure there's going to see a lot of play on ladder.
yeah, we'll see something for sure.
All right, here's a interesting question. Machine, what do you think about 7 pool on steps and then transitioning into a quick gold?
That's like the cats build. I started using 6 and 7 pools on steps just to kind of throw people off. Like a really good Protoss who scouts it ahead of time isn't going to take too much damage from it.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, you're giving yourself map control and then giving yourself the possibility to secure that gold base and then kind of transferring drones there later on in order to kind of catch back up on that economy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a bad build. Honestly, I think it's a pretty good answer to steps. Obviously there's going to be some timings that are hard to deal with, and the fact that your forces are kind of going to be split between 2 bases that are on the opposite sides of the map.
Mm-hmm.
It allows them to do some pretty solid counterattacks that you really can't prepare for if you don't time it correctly. But yeah, I think it's actually a pretty decent build on steps, and it's something that I've been mixing in as well.
Cool. Machine, what would you consider a saturated base? How many drones do I need per base?
24 for minerals. You want to generally get around 3 drones per mineral, I guess. But generally, I tend to kind of get less drones and just have them less drones per base late game and have them mine more efficiently. So somewhere between 20 and 22, especially when you're running on like 4 or 5 base.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess a fully saturated base though would be around 22 to 24 drones.
Cool. How do you feel about the Ultralisk these days, and is it possible to mix into your composition ever in any matchup at all?
I didn't think so until I saw Moro versus White Raw, and it has me questioning it, but I'm still going to go with my gut instinct and say no. The Ultras is too expensive, too slow, and too cost inefficient to really have any sort of a use in any matchup other than late game Zerg versus Protoss if your opponent, for whatever reason, is only going like Stalker, Sentry, Storm.
Stalker, Sentry, Storm. Cool. Machine, I've really been trying out an aggressive Zerg playstyle, but I feel that no matter what strategies I try, I lose unless I hit a lucky timing. What would you say that the only way to play Zerg at a Would you say that the only way to play Zerg at a high level is to be adaptive and macro-oriented, or is it possible to play kind of ballsy, kind of all-in, kind of catsy?
Honestly, I think they're really just 2 different types of playstyles. What works for me doesn't really work for everybody. Obviously, Cats, I don't know if you guys have been watching him play recently, but he's an extremely good player. He plays very ballsy. He plays very aggressive, and it tends to work for him. He's beating some pretty solid players in tournaments recently. I don't see a whole lot of extremely aggressive play in Korea, like in the GSLs and such. Well, at least not successful aggressive players, which makes me lean towards the fact that right now, at least, I believe that passive Zerg play is kind of proving to be better, but I wouldn't count out aggressive players, and being an aggressive player really allows for a lot of separate possibilities because your opponent's kind of going into each game with a different mindset, a separate mindset to where they're just not really going to be able to deal with it. So no, I think that you can play aggressively, honestly, at a high level.
Awesome. One last question, and then I'm going to kick it to you to say whatever you would like to say in the last minute or two.
All right.
Machine, I've noticed that force fields really, really hurt, especially when you're running Roach Hydra. Why not bring an Overseer to help your Corruptors pick off the Observer and then just burrow?
Honestly, that's a pretty good idea and something I've never really thought of. It would also allow for tunneling claws to kind of be used. I don't really have an answer for that one. I guess it's something I'd have to try out. I guess maybe I was fearing that might just be like if they just picked off your Overseer, be the same exact thing. You'd prevent you from burrowing. You go ahead and chrono boost out those servers, especially now that they're cheaper. But at the same time, it would also slow down their Colossus production. So, I think it's a possibility and something I'm just gonna have to kind of test out.
Well, there you go. Machine learned
See.
something from us today.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I had a good time tonight. I think we spent a little bit more time on non-Stargate stuff than I had planned. But,
That's all right.
But we got some good looks at Phoenix. We got a couple looks at Void Ray, and we got some looks at some more standard stuff too. So that is awesome. Now's the part of the show where I ask you if you have any shout-outs, announcements, or things that you just want to talk about before we wrap it up.
Well, obviously, shout out Team EG. I wouldn't be nearly half the player I am without my teammates to practice with. Shout out to you guys for watching the stream, for my fans. Shout out to Ben here for having me on the show, and hopefully continually to have me on the show here in the future. If if you guys have any questions or whatever, I try to kind of help out as many people as I can, obviously through Gosu Coaching. Just feel free to shoot me an email at machine@gosucoaching.com, and I try to answer as much little questions as I can. Obviously not anything too in depth. I'm not going to give away any free lessons or anything. Yeah, but yeah. Well, once again, thanks for having me on here, man.
All right, man. I guess I will see you next week. We haven't quite yet decided on the theme for next week. I'm going to let the viewers choose. So over the weekend, guys that are watching, watch our 12 weeks thread. There will be a poll up. You guys can pick. Choices are probably going to be between 2 racks or between some tricky Zerg stuff that I have yet to completely figure out how to word. But it'll be one or the other. So, Bryce, thanks again. I will see you next week, my friend.
All right. Take care, Ben.
Have a great evening.
You too.
All right, folks. That's it for tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. And, hell, I'm without words. This was just too much learning for one man to handle. So, please continue to bump our threads on Team Liquid. Please continue to follow us on Blip, and also please subscribe to us on YouTube, because YouTube and Blip are the way that we kind of support the show. So if you guys can do those things, I would be much obliged. Beyond that, come back next Tuesday, 6 o'clock for In Control, and watch that thread on Team Liquid. You guys are going to have to vote on how y'all want, or what y'all want to cover next week. So that choice will be up by tomorrow afternoon, and I will close the voting sometime on Sunday. So, Mega Hearts, you guys are the best. I will see y'all all next time. Click. Click. Music.